Hi, Carolyn.
Hey, Roxy.
I'm so excited to be here with you. Thank you for making time to be here with all of us. Your story, your energy, everything about you so far has just been such a beautiful gift to take in. And I'm really, really excited to get to know you more through our conversation right now and to share you with everybody listening. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm great. And likewise, I am very intrigued and taken with your story and inspired. And, you and I have a bunch of things in common. So, um, it's really nice to be connecting with someone that I feel this kind of affinity for.
Oh, thank you. I agree. There's so many areas to go with you in this conversation. Mindset's everything, I think, to both of us, right? You are a life coach, a leadership coach. I feel like it's also appropriate to call you a success coach. So many titles. Basically, you help your clients win in life. Is that a good way to summarize it?
Yes, I think that's a great way to put it. I think the whole coach thing, you're right. It's a word that has, in a way, lost its meaning.
Hmm.
But for me, it's important to tie it back to where it comes from, which is not um, the world of medicine. Let's say, like therapy or being a psychiatrist or psychologist, really comes from that world. Coaching comes from the world of athletics and entertainment and business. So, in that way, I think that you're right because it is about being more successful and winning at the game that you're playing. It just so happens we are all playing this game of life, and we could all use a little support from somebody who's not smarter than you, but just maybe has a little something more to offer.
I love that. It's so
Right.
beautiful, powerfully put. You have one of my favorite styles of stories. For the better part of your career life, you worked in the fashion industry. Yes.
I did. Oh
And
my
at
God,
a
for 35 years.
it's amazing. And at a very top level. And it's fun for me because, as a celebrity makeup artist, and I hate kind of framing it that way. I just have to do it because now, especially, there's so many avenues of makeup. But it kind of shortcuts for brevity purposes. It's celebrity makeup artist, but fashion is involved, entertainment. So I very much understand that world, at least from that perspective. And it's funny because it's different from this world, and yet there are so many parallels, or rather, maybe a better way to put it is skill transfers that, I know that I've taken from that part of my career life into this part of my career life. And I know that that has been so similar for you. And I would love to, if you're okay with it, to kind of start from that area of your life, where you were in this fashion industry world, and how you were transitioning, or what led you to transition from very long, that's a lot of life to be putting into one career avenue, to then evolve. Not pivot, but rather evolve into your life coaching business where you are now.
Yeah, okay. So I did start young. So I'm not 85, but I am 55, which is not, you really can say that it is a second half of life. And, hopefully in this conversation, we can talk about what you call 360 beauty and what is such a passion for me, which is how do we age beautifully? How do we age? What does that mean when you can't count on the outside beauty so much anymore, which inevitably happens to all of us? So I did start at 16. I opened my first business at 16, and I had that for 17 years. Then went ahead and was working with, a lot of the top brands. But to answer your question specifically, the skill, the desire, the passion, the kind of connective line between all of those years, what I did in fashion, And what I'm doing today is service. That really is it. It's service. So for me, it was never about Versace or Gucci or Bulgari or jewelry or handbags or clothes, although um, you can't help but love that stuff when, but I was never even really a consumer. I don't shop, I don't really consume. For me, it was the human interaction and being, I just felt like, oh my God, I got so lucky in life that I get to every single day interact with people who sort of they love this container. Now the container could have been Versace or it could have been Gucci, but I always knew that it just never was about what was being sold. It was never about the clothes because these people, they didn't need anything. They just didn't need another handbag. But they came in and I understood from a very, I think, a young age that what they were coming in for was to be seen. It was to be heard. It was to be understood. It was to feel safe. And I was able to develop that talent through those years. So for me, yes, coaching is maybe a different world, like you're saying, but you're right. It's not really a pivot. It's a kind of, okay, how can I do exactly what I was doing before, but on a more elevated level? For me today, I'm not putting myself or anyone else down
Sure.
who was in that world.
Yeah.
Most of my clients are people who were my bosses and colleagues in that world. And so I'm able to help them with the understanding of the nuances of that world, of, the challenges, what it means to build a business. These things I learned for sure in those years. But the thread for my own personal evolution is can be summed up in one word: service. I served then, I serve now.
I love that. And I think another angle just to add, I'm such a visual person. I go there. I'm like, you were really accessing more joy for them too, right? It's like they're coming to you to feel all those things, to gain all those things that you just mentioned. And there's joy in that process, right?
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. Joy and a sense of really safety.
Mm-hmm.
It so happens that okay, it was inside of a store environment, or if I went to them, or if my team went to them, but it was still a relationship that was grounded
Mm-hmm.
on trust
Mm-hmm.
and safety. They knew that, I mean, what could be more, in a way, vulnerable than sitting for hours in a dressing room?
Yeah.
It's like naked.
You know what? I could draw a parallel because I'm seeing you in your most naked face when I'm doing makeup, and then having to put trust in me for you to be at your ultimate representation of feeling well, like beautiful, to the outside world. And so I so deeply connect with you. It's amazing, actually.
Right? You get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
So
totally.
someone is showing up, so vulnerable, and it's an honor, of course, a responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
but also a privilege.
Yeah.
When my clients thank me and I say it's my privilege, I mean it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a privilege to have another human being um, put their trust in you.
Yeah.
Now, the work, as you know, because you're a coach yourself,
Mm-hmm.
the work is not about me. The work is about what happens when two people come together and they co-create. So when someone thanks me, I'm very quick to say, hey, we both brought something. Let's thank the work. The
Mm-hmm.
work itself is very powerful, but only when both people come together.
I
But
love that.
them coming together and making that investment, it's courageous work.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. It's so true. And I really, it's, I think for me, I've always been a team player. I don't know about you, and I'd love to know actually, but I come from a big family. There's 5 siblings, and we're all just so very close. And I know that has really generated this love for being in a team, an operating team. Was that the case for you? Do you come from?
Very much so. I don't come from a big nuclear family. I have only one sister, but I have maybe 100 members of my immediate family living within a couple of square miles. This is, of course, it has to do with my background being Iranian.
Yeah.
There's for sure that sense of like intergenerational connectedness where my grandmother, even to this day, I wouldn't say babysits because my children are now 18 and 20 years old, but she did babysit my children and they have a bond with each other that, is separated by 3 generations. So, I would say that that's at the bottom of my sense of, there's a bigger picture here than myself.
Yes.
But also I developed teams. Again, going back to my other career, I developed teams for so many years. And, leaders know that you can't do anything by yourself.
Totally. It's so true. It's so true. You can't scale, you can't develop, you can't be in your zone of genius if you are trying to do everything. Bottom line.
You're right. It's very limited. So,
Yeah.
for people like us and people that we coach who really, let's admit it, they're high achieving, they're ambitious, they're going, 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 they want more,
Yeah.
This is a really key understanding to have because many of us, especially growing up in the last couple of generations, feel like we should do everything alone.
Mm, yeah.
This is
Well,
very
it
true.
feels it feels the most reliable, you know. But it's not really how it works, Just isn't.
Yes, you're right. It feels reliable because of our attachment to perfectionism. Because
Mm,
we feel like, oh, if I do it myself, at least I have control. At least I know it's going to be done my way. It's going to be done perfectly. Um, and this is one of the things I work on with my clients because I would say 70% of them, the thing that's getting in the way of their bigger, what you call win in
mhm.
life is just perfectionism,
Yeah.
plain
Yeah.
and simple. It's always riding shotgun right there with their, ambition, and it's getting in the way.
Yeah. No,
So
it's a really important code to crack, I think, to really take things to the next level because you need, it's funny, people often sometimes, have this perfectionism for me. I'm more interested in process and effort than perfectionism, like, yeah, I always want to win and I always want to crush it, but I understand that, it's that repetitive effort that creates the overall, quality elements, right? So and I, you have to get to this understanding, I think, through process, right? Through trial and error, through lesson. And I think that when you are able to get there, when you have assistance to get there, like you do with your clients, I think it's such an MVP in creating this fulfilling life where you are the leader in your life and you are able to, hit the targets that you want to hit and feel good in the process.
absolutely. Can I expand on what you just said a
Please.
little? It's something
Yes.
that just I've learned in this process. When you first become a coach, and I have like a number of certifications. So you go to school, you don't have to, but I did.
Yeah.
The thing you hear over and over again is goals, goals, goals.
Mhm.
People coach you for goals, clarify the goals, go for the goals, strategize about the goals, which I did for many years. And I will tell you what you just said
Mhm.
about the process,
Mhm.
that understanding came to me years into doing this work.
Yeah.
I realized that if I can shift my clients from goal orientation to
Mhm.
process orientation,
Mhm.
everything changes because goals, they can be intimidating, they can be
Mhm.
unrealistic,
Mhm.
they're dependent so much on a bunch of things we don't have control over.
Totally.
There is a really good chance that no matter how hard you work, you're going to feel like a fail, not a win, right?
Yes. Yes, I love this.
So
Yes.
what to do? What to
Yeah.
do? And,
Yeah.
it was a process because my clients stay with me usually for years. And
Mhm.
there I am kind of mid coaching with them. And we started out with goals and I've had this insight and I realized that I'm not serving them if I stay on this goal path,
Yeah.
and how to shift them to process.
Mhm.
It's doable and it's been life changing for them and for me because, like you just said, a process can have you experiencing a win
Mhm.
constantly
Exactly.
and it's in your hands.
Yes. Yeah.
So, for example, I have this other life as an ultra runner, right? So
Yes.
I train. Look, these races, sometimes you don't finish for reasons that are really out of your control
Yeah.
or whatever, but if I can make my wins be defined by my process, by my training, then when I get to the race, it's not carrying so much weight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
By the way, doesn't serve us. All of that feeling, all that weight of like, gotta come through. This is it. All the training that I did is for this moment.
Oh.
You know, if our win is defined by one goal,
Mhm.
there's a pretty good chance that we're not going to experience that deep, sustainable sense
Mhm.
of being a winner.
Totally. It's like I always say it's like winning on the way to winning. That's what I want to do, and that's the internal as you're working on the external, right? So it's like who you are in the process and how you're, witnessing yourself through the process and supporting yourself through the process and all of that as you're on the way to, because you're right, Carolyn, you're not always going to have, you could have the best intention, you could do everything right and you can miss the shot. And if your entire win and worthiness and all the things that go with it or we're on just making the shot, well, now you feel like shit, you failed, but if you are, honoring and paying attention and embracing the process on the way, I mean, it's just it's a deeper, it's a richer experience and it's a deeper understanding that I think I know, actually, I don't even think I know, allows you to continue to be a high performer and continue to take things to the next level and continue to actually, I believe, win on an even larger scale. It's like when you're looking down at your life from up here, even if you've missed some shots in the way, it's like overall, there's so much more fulfillment and so many more wins because of everything that you just so eloquently just shared right now. So yeah, it's so spot on. It's powerful.
I want to invite you as a powerful voice, as a coach, as somebody that has a following that people listen um, to really like come on board with me to change the dynamic of what it means to win,
Mm,
you know? Because I think that we have, those of us that are high achieving,
mhm,
have really, in a way, me more than you, because I'm older than you, have been set up to fail.
mm,
We've been set up by our definition of what winning means
mhm.
to spend so much time on this hamster wheel,
Yeah.
you know, and not understand that coaching is about who you're being.
Mhm,
Great, I'll show you what to do. Nobody can do it better. I will show you what to do, like strategy, tactics,
mhm,
tools, skills. But that's not the deepest value of our work,
mhm.
right? As coaches, as a voice, as a leader that you are, I think the deepest value is to set an example
Mhm.
of being. Who are we being? You say this in your tagline, I think, where you said the life you're living is who you are.
Yeah.
Something I'm rephrasing.
You are the life you're living.
You are the life you're living. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that sense to bring people with us, even if they come in through the door, come in coaching through the door of action and doing and achieving and specific goals, to in time give them the experience of the kind of vertical coaching that has them going up the soul line, not just their goal line.
Oh, that's good, girl.
You know what I mean? That has them, okay, we have this goal line where we're growing up as we're going, we're growing up.
Mm.
What about waking up?
Oof.
What about waking up? I think that's, when people come to me for business coaching, which I do and I'm happy to do,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very clear with them that I am a coach that works on the level of personal transformation. If you're not willing to bring the whole of yourself to this work, make the connections, get integrated as a human,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the coach for you.
Yeah.
And I was drawn to what you do and really was excited about this conversation because I know this is who you are. I know this is what you do. I know this is your, these are your core values.
Thank you. It's leading by example. And, when I think about your life, all the years you spent in this one industry, I can't even imagine the challenges on so many levels of transitioning, of evolving into a whole nother career, like what people you love had to say financially. I mean, just on every level, I'm thinking about all of what you had to manage, and the agility, emotional agility, the emotional discipline, the mindset, and to evolve into this new career life that you are absolutely living with so much success, and you are so, your clients are basically gaining so much from this evolved Carolyn and this I mean, honestly, Carolyn, it's you living from your highest self, right? It's you living from your fullest potential. And I just feel like when I think about leading by example and having all this knowledge and this wisdom, it's while you went to school and you got certified, which is wonderful. And I did too with health coach, but honestly, straight up, I just did that because it made me feel good.
Right.
But I
Like nobody cares. Nobody cares. This is what I coach other coaches and they're like, got to do this, become a master that, got to do that. I'm like, nobody cares.
no.
Don't do it. Put it on your signature. Call yourself a master, whatever. Nobody cares.
The other thing too, though, that ultra runner, mommy. I mean, you're like all of this, your life. You take all these incredible, powerful evolutions, chapters, experiences, pieces of your life that have made you the woman that you are today, to be leading by example and to be able to actually really guide your, and not just your clients. I mean, I feel like it's, I always say that we are more than, I'm more than Roxanne, you're more than Carolyn, we're more than humans. We are an experience. And every single human that we come into contact with, we are giving them an experience, right? We're giving people an experience right now. So the experience that you are is the result of not just the life that you have lived, but how you have maneuvered and evolved throughout it. And I think it's just, there's so many pieces that I want to talk about in this process with you, because when I think, those listening to this podcast are always, looking for a few things, how to expand their mind, to grow and to be fortified with strength and to be capable, to feel great in their body and to keep going for, to live from their fullest potential and from their highest path of life. And when I think about, how challenging it must have been for you to have transitioned from fashion life to coaching to being a mommy to how did you even get into ultra running? Like, that's a whole thing. I know that you've been managing chronic pain at the same time. I mean, there's so many elements that I know are going to be so supportive to those listening. And I really would just love to kind of pick your brain a little bit too about a lot of things actually, but that how you maneuvered through that transition and how you managed the external voices, your internal voice, all of that. Because I know that that's where a lot of people struggle right now in COVID. People have a lot of time to really sit with themselves and go, wait, is the life that I've been living the life that I want to be living? Okay, well, if it's not, how do I actually move forward into the things that do light me up inside? I don't know. I'm scared. What are they going to think? All of those things. So if we can touch on that, I think that would be a really powerful piece to add to this conversation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Look, I wish I could say I woke up one day and I was just like, oh, I'm going to have this other career and I'm just going to I'm such a badass. I'm going to make it happen. It was not that way. It was not that way. It was a slow, painful, and ugly crash landing of my career, of my body, of my personal relationships, of my health. And this was probably started in my late 30s and went well into my 40s. So let me just be clear that was the beginning. That was the ground zero. That it was not like, oh yeah, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
And why did I have that? Because I was living life on autopilot. Because as much as I was always, I mean, really since 12 years old, I was reading The Road Less Traveled. Then I became a Buddhist. Then I became a Kabbalist. Then I studied with teachers. But it was always information. Always information. Read books, listen to podcasts, feel smarter.
Yeah.
Was I living smarter? No. There was this, my brain that was getting all the information and felt like it was getting bigger, but there was no results necessarily in terms of true transformation in who I was being. And the result of just staying on that path of just go, 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 never slow down, do the next thing, was that really I crashed. I mean, I reached a place where career-wise, I hit a ceiling. And now I know that it's because I just wasn't loving what I was doing. But then I was thinking, you'll understand this as a mindset coach. My mindset was more of a victim mindset. It was like, oh, I'm a woman, I'm getting older, they can hire somebody for half the price, blah, blah, blah. And I had married and didn't feel like I had chosen successfully, that I had a successful marriage. I didn't feel I was successful as a single parent. But I was always hustling, moving fast.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, one of the things that I work on now with my clients is to take them from speed, which most of us have, to velocity. And I don't know if
but please elaborate.
They don't know the difference. Speed is just moving fast. You could be on a treadmill and be moving very, very fast, but not going anywhere. Velocity has us going in a direction. Okay. So I had no velocity. I just had speed. It was just like, go, 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 go. And I think a lot of people will relate to this. One way or another, you will crash. For me, what made me stop was literally my physical self, where, I always ran, get up at 4 a.m, run 5 miles, take a shower, go to work, do this, do that, do everything. And one day I was running and literally it felt like it happened in one day. And I was like, ow. And I thought, oh, what's that? That was really the beginning of pain that to this day I have, except for for years, I was like just running from doctor to doctor going, okay, fix it.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. And the surgeon would say, well, you need back surgery, and the chiropractor would say you need it adjusted every day, and the nerve doctor would say, oh, it's your nerves that are being pinched. And I realized, oh, if everybody has a different opinion, then nobody knows.
Sure. Yep.
And so I want to say that I really did hit what, for me anyway, was a very low place.
Mhm.
And I got help. I got help.
Yeah.
That's how I made, the move upwards towards a new life. And it was slow,
Mhm.
but it was committed. But the only thing that I would say that if I had not done it, I wouldn't be where I am today, was hire my own coach and get help. And just begin to understand that, oh, wow, there's a different way
Mhm.
that we could live.
Was
And
it a hard decision? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just want to ask, I think it's an important question. Was it a hard decision for you to decide to hire a coach?
it was a hard decision for me to get help. It goes back to what you were saying about, what we were saying earlier about perfection.
Sure.
I, I mean, I needed, in my head, the belief
Mhm.
that was in the driver's seat was fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
Just figure it out, you know?
Yep.
And so, yeah, it was hard. It was hard to say, I can't figure it out. I don't know.
It's like a moment of vulnerability and then ultimately surrender, and then but I love that you went for it. And I'm so happy I just asked you that question, because I'm sure there's a lot of people right now who toggle with the idea of, should I not, now than more than ever too. There's all kinds of coaches, but it's like, man, I'm with you. I mean, listen, the easiest reference for me is like Michael Jordan has a coach. The top performers in the world have a coach for a reason, you know?
Yeah.
And so, it makes perfect sense to me that you, in that state, in that moment, when you finally decide I'm going to move forward, I'm going to get help, that would help you to rise to the next level in your life. So I'm going to let you pick it right back up there, but I really wanted to ask you that question, because I feel like, people do that.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And one way that I've really found around that is it has to do with my business model. And this is the model that I teach to my coaches, which is never sell, always serve.
Mhm.
Because if you serve and give people an experience of coaching first,
Yeah.
then it's not risky. It
Mhm.
doesn't feel risky to them. So I was very lucky because I connected with a coach who had the same business model. So we met, and by the time I signed on, it didn't feel risky. It didn't feel like, oh wow, I'm weak, or I was going against some some big belief, or what's going to happen when I hire this person. It was very much, we had couple of sessions, deep sessions already. I knew what coaching was. I knew who I was, going to be working with. And there was no selling on his part. So he just served me powerfully ahead of time.
Mhm.
And I signed on. So I was lucky in that way. But, there are different kinds of coaching. I did go in just saying, hey, I want I want coaching around health, and I want coaching around career. I did say that.
Mm.
But again, he was like, cool, we can do all that. But you have to understand that if you want to coach with me, I'm a transformational coach. We're going to look at your whole life.
Yeah.
And boy, oh boy, did I get lucky, because it is about living an integrated life if we want to be healthy. Whatever issues I have
Mhm.
mechanically that cause me pain,
Yeah.
they're still there, but it doesn't matter. I couldn't possibly. I wasn't nearly as physically able at 35 than I am at 55.
I
You
love
know what I'm
that.
saying? So it's
I do. I do. At 42, I'm kicking my 32-year-old's ass.
but it's not about it's not about, oh well, some doctor came in and fixed me.
No.
Because God knows so many of us have this issue. We don't know why. This kind of like mechanical issues that lead to chronic pain, years of eating, I guess, maybe a certain way, a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
But you can shift your mind around it, which
Mhm.
shifts your whole experience of pain.
Mm, mm. Yeah, it's almost like you reframe what the pain even means to you, which then allows you to move through it differently, I imagine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it beautifully yours. I love listening to you. Yes, no, it was very articulated that perfect. And in my mind, I'm wondering like how you meet this coach, you start doing the work, you have this pain, you're getting ready to move into what would be the next chapter of your career life. When and how, and excuse me if I'm jumping too far, you back me up wherever you want to, but my thought is like with that pain, when does and how does ultra running come into the because can you explain what ultra run we've had Sally McRae on that podcast, but
I
for
love Sally.
listeners new, she's so wonderful. Oh my God. It was a cackle fest the whole time. Our laughs are so similar, but we if for those who aren't familiar with what ultra running is, because I know there's different forms of it, and you are specific, you race in the mountains and the hills, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So ultra running is running any distance that's above a marathon distance. So, 50 kilometers, 50 miles, 100 kilometers, 100 miles. Now there's 200-mile races, over days. It is, I would say, 99% of the time in the mountains. So there's this element of, elevation, a lot of times altitude. There's sky races, which have to be above a certain altitude. You have to cover a certain elevation. It's on trails, and the training of it often, I'm sure Sally told you, is being alone.
Yeah.
You're running alone in the mountains, so it has a very different feel to it
Hmm.
than running. I mean, I don't consider myself. I couldn't. I don't think I could run 3 miles on pavement or sidewalk anymore. You know.
I have to tell you, I totally understand this because I live at the beach. It's my backyard, and my running, and I run throughout the week, is barefoot in the sand, in the deep sand, and it's usually between on a lower day, it's a 3 mile. I'm not a high mile runner, but on a usually it's a 4 to 6 mile run, 10K, and for a moment in the quarantine, they shut the backyard down, and it it crushed me, because this is something that I love, and it's constant in my life, and so I started running in the street, and girl, let me tell you, and I grew up running, by the way. I was a competitive runner growing up, when I was a kid, and
Yeah,
I, putting on shoes, I could do track sprints. That's different, hill sprints, but going miles on the concrete with
right.
no, versus wind in my hair, ocean breeze, sand. I so understand, although I don't do trail running, but that nature,
It's the same
uh, yeah, oh my gosh,
thing.
it's cathartic.
Sport. It's a different sport.
Yeah.
When you ask how did I make that pivot, again, kind of an embarrassing story. It doesn't make me look good, but I used to be like, just run, run. I was not on the track team. I was like, it was more like getting my aggression out, running. I wasn't loving running for the sake of it. It was like, get it done. 5 miles, 6 miles, go to work. And I used to run around the UCLA track as well. And also the park where I live, around the park where I live. And there was this man for years, years. We're talking decades, because I've lived in the same neighborhood for like 40 years. And he's older, kind of crooked.
Mhm.
When he would run like this. But man, he showed up every day and he ran. He ran slow. He ran with obvious pain, but he ran.
Mm.
And he had a smile on his face always. And I would run circles around him, literally. And in my world of like, in my 35, 43-year-old world of like, I'm such a badass. I can do everything. Yeah, I saw myself as superior
Mm.
to pretty much most people, but especially him.
Yeah.
This is why I'm telling you it's not a pretty story, but as my body started to break down
Mhm.
and my running started to slow and I couldn't run even a mile anymore. One day we were around the UCLA track and where I used to like train in my own mind, train with like Olympic athletes because they use the UCLA track. I had really I was dragging so slow because of the pain that I think I was just like, I was walking pretty much.
Yeah.
And this man passed me. And then he passed me again. And I just stood there and I started crying. And I knew that whatever was dragging me forward,
Mhm.
my ego, my I can do it, my just push harder, all of that
Mhm.
it just crumbled. It just crumbled. I knew that I had hit a place from which I could stay there or I needed to build up like this man. I knew he was my teacher.
Mm.
I knew that he was the answer for me. So I slowed down and I said, can I walk with you? Do you mind walking with me? And he goes, no, of course not. And he had no problem. He was just going a little faster than a walk anyway. He slowed
Yeah.
down. And I started asking him questions. How do you do it? What's going on? How do you show up every day? And he taught me and he said, one step at a time. And he said, if you can walk, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, just move out and sit on a bench. And so I said to myself, maybe I'll just go for a little walk in the mountains.
Wow.
Just get some air.
Mhm.
And as I started walking, and I was always a hiker,
Mhm.
but now seeing the hiking as all I could do, no longer an alternative to a day where I was not feeling strong, no longer just like something I did on a weekday,
Mm.
on a day where I was feeling weak or on an off day. But the best I could do right now was just move through nature, slow.
Yeah.
It was the beginning, Roxy. It was the beginning. Then I went again, and then I started moving a little faster. And then I said, well, what would it feel like? I wonder if I can maybe just run for like 10 seconds
Mhm.
without pain, or maybe 20 seconds. And I realized that there was something very different for my body when I'm running on dirt and in nature and on this ground we call Mother Earth. And I just started to make spiritual connections and I started to feel differently and my body started to get stronger. And I've never run a marathon in my life before I ran a 50-kilometer race.
That's incredible.
So it was a combination of surrounding myself with people who gave me the understanding that it's about the process,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and you're not too old, and you're all of these things are setting examples for me. Of course, working with my own coach,
Mhm.
and it just was one step at a time.
That is beautiful, and I think it's so incredible that you had a very deep level of self awareness to be able to realize this individual is my teacher. There's a lesson here. I think it's also beautiful that you subscribe to the lesson. You said, okay, I want to investigate, right? You didn't let it just go over on you, and that ultimately is, that was a pathway, like you just beautifully shared, to what would become, another huge piece to your life and really who you are, right? As this ultra athlete. It's incredible, you know.
What you're talking when you said explore or investigate is the
Mhm.
word you used. I have found out through the years that the antidote, the opposite of fear,
Mhm.
which I have just as much as everyone else,
Yeah.
is curiosity. It's not courage. It's not bravery. Because, like, I don't know, courage is like a result
Mm.
almost for me.
Yeah.
You know,
Love it.
brave is something I become.
Mm.
Courage is something I show.
Mm.
that I can access in the process of being curious.
Mm.
If I can just leverage curiosity, if I can really become curious, then I've noticed that it it takes over the fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was curious. I was genuinely curious. Who is this man?
Yeah.
What does he know that I don't know?
And the thing that is also so important to point out is that you went for it. You think like we're all born curious, right? That's the beautiful part about being a child and youthful is this curiosity and this, the why. What? But why? But why? It's like this constant investigation, and unfortunately, as most grow older, that starts to diminish. It starts to go away, and that's where people get stuck and unhappy. But it when you keep that curiosity active and you maneuver through your life with that curiosity, like you take the chance, you investigate, it really does, it keeps you evolving into, even if there's a consequence at the end of that, that consequence, can end, like, maybe it's like a business venture that you embarked on because you were curious and you investigated and you wanted to, see what would happen. And then there's a fail at the end of it. But that fail will most likely hold some valuable lesson or lessons that you need to then carry on to get you to that higher level. So it's, I think it's wonderful that you leaned into your curiosity and you decided that you made the choice to say, I'm going to, even the vulnerability in that, like you said, before that you're kind of walking around like exactly like I'm above. And then you're like, wait, I need to come down and,
Oh, I am
ask.
down. I am down. I don't need to come down. And,
Yeah.
I wish for, I have this conversation with my children.
Yeah.
I wish for humans that they do it voluntarily,
Mm.
because when we don't, the universe will do it for us. So it's no longer like, I need to do this. That would have been voluntary. It was like, I'm down.
You're like, to the man, help.
Yeah, like, please help me. Out about it.
That's incredible.
I do want to I do want to narrow in on something you said though,
Hmm.
which I think is such an important part of what we do and something folks need to understand. Curiosity is a great starting point,
Mhm.
but unless you take action, we're not going anywhere.
Mhm.
And this is something that's inherent in how you live and what you do. But a lot of folks need help with that because, Brooke Castillo is a coach who, she makes this distinction between massive action and passive action.
Mhm.
And passive action is all the things we do on the way to making, our goals come true, our dreams come true, our vision come true. We read, we go to school, we learn, we talk to people, we listen to podcasts. And it feels like we're getting smarter. It feels like we're doing
Do
something.
something.
We're not changing our life,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And this is what I hope more and more people understand. And this is what coaches
Yeah.
offer
Yeah.
is that understanding that unless you move into massive action,
Mm.
nothing's going to change. 1 year
Yeah.
from now, you will be living the same future, the default future you would have had.
Yeah.
You know, so at the same time that I'm talking about being who you're being,
Mhm.
it is very important to say, okay, I'm curious.
Mhm.
Don't just read another book
No.
because you need another book. Nobody around us, we are so overloaded with information. Everybody's so smart in the head.
Yeah.
We don't need to read another book, another article, another anything. You know, I have a course that I've put out, which
Mhm.
is really very inexpensive compared to my one-on-one coaching.
Mhm.
And my clients say, like, why did you like price it so low? It's not good for your image. I'm like, because it's just information, Now, there's tools in there.
Yeah.
There's practices if somebody
Yeah.
wants to actually do them. But
Mhm.
we know that 80% of courses go undone and unread.
Yes.
But one-on-one, when you're working with another human who holds only your agenda and is
Mm.
all in,
Mhm.
okay, that's a whole other level of alchemy. That's a whole other level of magic. And it involves action.
Mm.
Massive action, understandably, people don't want to take it because 100% of the time it's in front of others.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time you fall on your face in front of others. So, of course, we don't want to do it. But there's just like no other way, like you said, there's no other way to move forward.
No, it's so good, Carolyn. I know, that's a big theme to your coaching is taking your clients from, this place of knowledge into action. And you're right. It's like again, being a very visual person, I'm imagining somebody in the kitchen, you've got, okay, you got this recipe and you've got all the ingredients and they're all set up perfectly and you've got all the ingredients, the book, the podcast, all the content. But now you got to put that shit on the stove. That's the scary. Now you got to make it all happen. And the hesitation kicks in because what if you burn it? What if you get it wrong? It's just that my mind is an art. I'm like, and it's like,
Huh.
man, put the shit on the stove. And if it gets burned, it's okay. Because now you know to adjust the temperature, to do it different. But it
True,
doesn't
true.
happen. That meal is not going to come into fruition.
Yes.
And so you combine all those pieces with the fire. And maybe another way to add to it is like the coaching, man. It's like, yeah, it's helping you to either to ignite the flame, or it is the flame sometime, the coach, but you're so right that you cannot. I think a lot of people do get stuck in the consumption of the knowledge, and the information. And sometimes I think that could also hold one back because you feel like one can feel like as they're learning more and they're witnessing more on the outside, it's like, wait, am I good enough? Am I ready enough? Do I have all the things? It's like, man, you gotta, yeah, you have to be willing. I have a campaign under Black Belt Beauty called Seek the Fight. And where it was born from, Carolyn, was this idea that one of the things I know I've been really good at in my life is I've been willing to live in the arena and get punched in the face, be put on my knees by the challenges that stand guard at my growth and the ideals that I hold for my life. And I get back up and then I throw a punch. I learn about who I am. I have learned about who I am in every punch that I've taken in life and continue to take, right? So my idea behind Seek the Fight is exactly that. I want you to move towards the fight. I want you to go after it, get uncomfortable, feel it, get punched in the face, be put on your knees. Good. Get back up. Watch yourself, witness yourself in this entire process, because there's something really important about that there too. Self-respect, self-compassion, self-love, self-confidence. You're watching yourself. I actually, it's a perfect bridge to want to ask you. I mean, has that played a role for you in your life? Just witnessing Carolyn can, move through everything that you've been moving through and continue to move through in your life, all the hard, all the adversities, all the challenges, and who you have been in this process and what you've overcome. How has that played a role to what you feel about yourself, to your self-talk, to who you are in this moment today?
Mm. Um, I think the best way to answer that is I'm going to reference a podcast that
Okay.
you had a few weeks ago with Ben Hardy.
Oh, I love him.
Right?
Yeah.
So great, right?
Yeah.
Where you both were really digging deep into how we assume we have a certain personality.
Mhm.
And that personality is made of, like, I don't know, cement. And it's this, unbreakable statue. It's who I am.
Yeah. It's fixed.
um, you know, it's just I learned through all those experiences that you're talking about, but also through working with folks and all kinds of practices. Some of them truly, I have to say, I don't want to call it religious, but spiritual.
Yeah.
You know, I have a strong morning practice that goes everywhere, like you do, covers all the ground, but at its core, it's spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
meaning a connection with
Yeah.
in quietness with a higher source, right? All of that at some point had me realizing, not overnight, but over time.
Yeah.
Okay. Realizing that, you know, the thinking that this is my personality is the easy fucking way out. In my course, the Life Vault course, the first module is personality, practice versus personality. Why? Because basically it covers everything. All the other teachings are based on that. If you, if we can begin to understand this concept that our personality is not this thing that's made and it's unchangeable, just who we are, and begin to understand that pretty much everything is a practice, everything, then that's the path right there. That's the path.
Yeah.
And what you're saying about seek the fight, people don't want to seek the fight because they feel they don't have the personality for it.
Mm.
Oh, I'm not that. I can't. I'm not a fighter.
Mm.
I'm not I'm sensitive. It's hard for me to get back up when I fall. It's this, it's that. It's just a practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a practice. You are not afraid of it because now you've practiced it so much.
Mm.
So when you see the fight, yeah, you get like that feeling in your stomach or whatever, but you don't get gripped by fear because you think that somebody's asking you to speak Chinese and you've never ever in your life studied Chinese. No?
No, it's so
Right?
true.
You're like, okay, I've done this before, I've practiced it. You can move forward. For most of us, when we're asked to do something, it is like someone's asking us to speak Chinese. We have no clue. We have no clue. We've never practiced it. We don't understand it.
Yeah.
But instead of saying, you know what, I've never practiced Chinese, I've never learned it. I can, but I haven't. Instead, we say, oh my God, I can't believe I don't speak Chinese. My parents didn't teach it to me. How could I have been raised in a home where nobody spoke Chinese and now I have to like deal with this and pay the price and I'm so not good enough and what's wrong with me? No.
Oh, it's so perfect. I love that. It's so perfect. And I just the fight equals the challenge, the adversity. And I think that what has served me so well and is just this idea of pivoting what challenge really means to you in your mind. It's literally challenge for me. When I feel the challenge, I'm like, there's your cue to go in that direction, go in. So it's a complete whereas like challenges, like for a lot of people, it's like, oh, let's stay away because there's uncomfortable, there's potential pain, all this stuff. But I've literally, some of which came naturally because there were challenges in my childhood, out of my control. So I became comfortable with challenge and maneuvering through it. And then a lot equal parts because I'm a path creator, and I I'm making sure that I'm finding challenges so that I can continue to grow in my life. So for me, challenges really become this idea. The fight is an opportunity. And it's a complete pivot of what this means that supports the ability to go forward. Because like you said, for sure, there are times where, whatever the thing is, it's like, oh man, I'm getting the feelings. I'm uncomfortable, the fear, but you're right. It's that practice, which I think I love that's, again, you're such a great writer. Practice personality. It's like, it's that repetition work it's like the gym, that repetition work, that fortifies, right? It's amazing.
And
Yeah.
this is where I think that, your particular brand of being a fitness,
Mhm.
like really master and expert, and the mindset, they inform each other really fluidly and really
Well,
beautifully.
thank you. And I think that there's so much alignment with you because you're an athlete. And, I'm a holistic high performer, right? We have high performer. Yeah, I'm not that. I'm a holistic high performer. And the reason for that, what that means is you I don't want to just be killing it in one zone. And there's no such thing as one zone. It goes back to the coach you were talking about. Like the state of your home is impacted by the state of your business. The state of your love life is impacted by the state of your health. Like everything is connected. So for me, when I think about high performance, it has to be you investing in all these areas to really be able to perform at the highest level. It's a system that is in constant um, connection of all these pieces together in our lives. And so you as an athlete, at a very high level athlete, taking, you know, everything that it takes to be a high level athlete, and then how you can integrate that into your business, into your life, into the woman that that you are. I feel like, there's another connection for us because it's like you said, you have this, I'm an athlete and a, artist mindset coach, and how it really pulls it all together. I, you know, I feel like we're sisters in that territory
Yeah,
because
for sure.
yeah.
For sure. And this the physical athletic side of my life informs my coaching all the time.
Yeah.
I was in a session with a client of mine who is very high achieving, and he owns a sports league without getting too specific. And um, he's in a place where he's really at a threshold. And he said to me, "Man, how am I going to do this right now?" He's in a very difficult place, and he's been there
Mhm.
for a long time. He's getting tired.
Yeah.
So I can access mile 35. I know where he is, you know? And
Yes.
and I said, "Well, can I give you just a little bit of advice from my other life that might be relevant?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "First of all, this is the time to just stay in the game.
Mm.
This is not the time to be like, why am I not going so fast? Why am I tired? Why is my leg cramping?" Just put one foot in front of the other. Just stay in the game.
Yeah.
My own coach, my own running coach,
Mhm.
would say, "Look, Carolyn, the person who wins is not the person who goes the fastest. It's the one who slows down the least."
Mm. That's wonderful. Beautiful.
What does that mean
Mm.
to you, to my client? I asked.
Yeah.
What is it going to take for you to slow down the least?
Yeah.
Okay? Because what we do is we drive ourselves really hard and then we fall. We're
Right.
gone. It's
Right.
no longer about slow. You're out of the game.
Right.
You DNF, you don't finish, they pull you from the race, which is
Yeah.
okay. And then the last thing I shared with him, I said, you know how we do it? We don't start a race and say, "Oh, I'm going to run 50 miles and I'm going to run 12 hours and I'm going to do this." We say, "I'm going to go to the next aid station." How
Mm.
long is that? 6 miles, 8 miles. I could do that. You prepare and you go.
Yeah.
Right now, you just need to figure out where the next aid station is. That's it. And get to the next aid station. And you know what? He was so like it all, of course, he's also a sports person himself, but it all really dropped in for him. This was a very explicit way I use the other part of my life, but it's
Yeah.
implicitly, it's in my coaching
Yeah.
all the time, as I'm sure it is, also yours all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I own lifeismysport.com because
Sport.com, yeah.
it was incredible that it was available. But because over the years, people would ask me, what do you compete in? I train jujitsu, I lift weights, I have many different modalities of movement, all of which, yoga, surfing, they all give me it's like, yes, I want the physiological benefits, the health benefits, the aesthetic benefits of all these different modalities. But honestly, Carolyn, what I really, really am going for in each of them is I want the mindset pieces. I want those ingredients that, the surfing, how to be fluid, how to be flow, how to be patient, yoga, how to breathe, how to work through discomfort, just differentiate discomfort from pain, weightlifting, feeling strong, my running, having the endurance for life. I mean, jujitsu, you have a 200 something pound man on you and you're gi and your sweat. Good. Get comfortable in that uncomfortable state and don't lose your mind in the process. So when people ask me, what do you train for? I'm like, well, I'm training for life, because all of these are necessary, especially for the life that I am living and the life that I am creating. So it makes, that was a beautiful example that you just gave with your client. It doesn't come as any surprise to me that this is going to transfer naturally into your coaching, because it's to be an athlete on any level, really, like, but to be consistent with, using your physical body, where you also always have to combine your mind, right? I mean, if anything, sport, I think more than anything is mind, right? So I'm a big UFC MMA fighter girl, right? It's a game of mind, man. You got two fighters that are super level. The one who wins, it's a game of inches. It's the mindset for the most part, right? And so I imagine you on these crazy, amazing races, and you're at what, mile 40? Like, what? This is mind over here. I don't want anything to do with that kind of race, Carol. But if you were my coach, I want to listen to you at mile 40, because that shit is gnarly. How are you doing it?
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
When are you writing this book? This one that you just laid out in 12 chapters, 12 sports, and making that connection.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
I mean, that's a book that, like, all you have to do is just block an hour out of your day, and that book will write itself the way you just explained it to me.
Oh, you move my heart. I'm on my cycle, so I might cry. Well, books are definitely in the queue. There's a couple of them. That book. Okay. Well, there you go.
This book right here.
Yeah.
Right here is written already. You just need to, I
need to hire you as my coach to get me through this book. That's what's happening offline.
This book is ready to go. Just gave me the synopsis of it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Well, you know how it is when you're juggling all kinds of things. And I mean, I know that the books they're coming, it's like the setup, and I appreciate you, absorbing it that way and then gifting it back to me that way. That's, it really, it makes me emotional. The thing is, it's all real, it's all authentic, and it's, yeah. Thank you.
That's why I'm saying the book is pretty much written itself. All you have to do is, kind of put the time aside to give birth to it and put it out in the world, Some books we write to support what we do. Mm-hmm. The one you just shared, it just is, it's like it's already existing. You just need to sort of put it out into the world for no other reason than it should just be out there. And, I mean, it will have benefits. Obviously, you'll have a great book, but it's pretty much written itself.
I love that. Thank you. It takes when I first came up with Life Was My Sport, I thought about a playbook, and I think that's the interesting part of being an artist and an athlete, and having, it's like there's a lot of different ideas, and you have to just, I think for me personally, I'm curious to how you feel about this, but actually it goes so perfect with one step at a time, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed. Everything's important. Everything matters. And then all of a sudden nothing gets done because you're just overwhelmed. So it's like, okay. Because I have a saying called inches make the mile, right? So it's like, how can we let's just make let's get this ebook done right now. Let's get this next, coaching program, whatever it is, and then we move into the next thing. And I think for me, what I do to know what to put in front of the other, I mean, there's a couple strategies, but ultimately it's what's lighting me up the most right now that I feel like is going to give me the most energy to be able to be consistent with this project to see it through to the end. Right. Cause then this happens and I go all in and I'm like, okay. And then I'm done, move on to the next thing. But yeah, there's a lot in the orbit.
I hear you. I would argue that everything is not important and everything doesn't matter. I would argue, but perhaps not on this podcast right now.
Carolyn, I love it. That's why, first of all, thank you. I don't want to be right all the time. I want to be called out, especially by individuals like you that are intellects, who are, higher learners, who have wisdom. And are you kidding? It's a gift to have that kind of message come back at me, and have me rethink and look at this deeper. One thing that I'm not a fan of is lazy thinking. Fuck. Don't just settle on that. Peel the layer back. Blanket statements, all that stuff. You have no idea. I can't. I roll my eye. It's my father's fault.
I can imagine actually a kind of, brutal side of you coming out if you're ever faced with that in people. I can imagine. I'm guessing that there's a side of you that's just going to be like, I don't have time for this. And just walking out the door.
It's a bit of a roll of the eye, I'm like, oh God, I can't, but yeah, well, I just think it's, it's really easy to rest and just be like, sit there, but it's like, it goes back to the investigation. It goes back to the curiosity. It's all about growth mindset. And, if you're always, just settling on this idea, this story, this, and you're never questioning and also never allowing yourself to be open to be wrong, then you're never going to, I'm more addicted to the growth than I am to being right or to the story or to the thing, So that is, that was a beautiful gift that you just shared. And I'm going to talk more about it with you. Okay. But back to you. This podcast is about you. I'm so grateful. I want to honor your time. I want to, there's a couple things I like to do with all of my guests. I would like to have, first of all, more conversations with you, off the podcast, but certainly on the podcast again. I love what you're about. I love, I want to support you in all the ways that I can. I think, in the world of coaching, it's an interesting time because there's just so much of it, and I'm not judging on any level of, to each his own, like coach. And then I think, there are ones that just stand out from a very authentic place, like you do to me. And I know to your people. So I'm really excited to have more conversations with you. One thing that I want to ask you before we move into, a couple of questions that will wrap up this episode is there something that you wish you were asked more of and you have not been asked, or you would like to speak on and have live in this conversation?
Yeah, I think that we touched on it earlier on, and maybe we can talk about it more deeply another time. I would like more conversations around what aging means, what it means to age beautifully, what, again, you call 360 degree of beauty. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean at 40, at 50, at 60, at 70? What do we as women, what are we modeling for the next generation, for our daughters, for our sons, and the connection between integrative health and beauty.
Yeah.
Between I know that, you've got training, you've got fuel, you've got all beauty, you've got all of these things along with like mindset and mental training in your model, right? a lot of people don't have those three things. They're like, okay, I want mindset, I want mental training, but they're not connecting it to the air you breathe, the food you eat, the movement in your body. It's very hard to age well if
Mhm.
you're not understanding that it's a holistic exercise, and that integration is what beauty is about as we get older. Because believe me, we slow down. It doesn't matter how like
Right.
badass we are, in our 30s and 40s, we slow down, things start to sag, the beauty starts to fade, your makeup doesn't even sit well anymore, your hair is
Totally.
not what it was, you know, but you can still be beautiful. So, that's something I would love for us and for just more women to explore.
I love that. That sounds like a live IG conversation that I would love to have with you. I do want to say, and I don't probably need to say this, especially to my audience, because everyone knows it's as real as it gets with me always. Uh, we've spoke before the podcast, but this was the first time that I got to, I've been able to see you in virtual real life, which is almost like real life these days. And immediately, just from taking you in, I think, the word that comes to mind is essence.
Mm.
Your essence, just first reaction for me is, this is a robust, healthy, beautiful woman. So whatever you're doing in your life, from the food you eat to the things you listen to the things you don't listen to the skincare, to all of the pieces, you're doing something really right, Carolyn, because there's a beauty to you that genuinely, it's like, it's a beauty that is felt, right? I really do love, everything again connects with everything. So when you feel good inside, and how you look on the outside does affect that, right? So it's like how you're managing yourself. That affects how you feel in the inside and vice versa. And that affects your performance. That's why there's, look great, feel great, perform great in the brand. But, I love this conversation. I love that you integrated this into the podcast, even if it's more bite-sized right now, and we'll elaborate it on, a live IG and another podcast together. But, you're already leading by example is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, we all know how to be functional, but how to be vital, that's a different story. And I think that's what I'm zeroing in on, is just how can we be more vital? Great, you're super functional, wonderful. There's another level. And what you call essence is really about being vital, being alive, and that there's a lot of pieces to that, as you know. But
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah.
the
Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay. So one of the questions that I love to ask all my guests is, if you had a magic wand and this magic wand could give the masses one positive habit that would have the largest positive ripple effect in their life, what would that be? It could be anything from mindset to a morning ritual to something they eat, anything.
Oh man, that's a really
I
good
know.
question. And I mean, listen, morning rituals have changed my life. But if I have to choose one thing, I would say experiment with being other focused and watch your life change. So just get out of yourself in every way you can to show up for someone else. Maybe pick up the phone and have a conversation. In your work, somehow slow down to sit with somebody, give something to someone, just and watch your life change. And by the way, it's addictive, because it's one of those things that the more you do it, the more your life changes for the better, and the easier things become, the more relaxed you become, the less like self-conscious you are. And you're like, oh, this is kind of like a magical thing. Yeah. That's what
I
I would
love
do
that.
in the world.
No, it's beautiful. Absolutely. I can just feel you. Yeah, you get more fulfillment in life from that. So everybody get to work now. Where's that wand? I love it. Okay, so the final piece to this amazing conversation that I'm so grateful to have had with you is my rapid fire words. So you do not need to be rapid in your response. You can elaborate as deep and as long as you would like. The idea is just to give you these words, and whatever comes top of mind and top of heart, I would like you to share.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, first word is love.
Wow. This sounds terrible, but the first thing that came to my mind was me.
That is perfect on this podcast.
I mean, it sounds selfish, but I do think that I'm all about love. And I do love myself. And I do love others. And my work is about love. And I try to go back to love when I fall off the wagon, which is like daily. So, yeah, that's the word that came top of mind.
Oh, it's perfect. I literally just created a post the other day with this. I was deeply thinking, as I always am, and I was like, because love is everything to me, and I was like, love is a high performance tool.
Wow. Yeah. uh,
It's where self-compassion, self-respect, personal integrity live, right?
right.
It's
I'm
like
going to write it down because I'm going to steal it from you, but I'm always going to give you credit. Love is a high performance tool. Love it.
Isn't it amazing? Well, yeah. I mean, I think about you on your races. You're at mile 30. What's getting you through? It's like, Carolyn, I love you, girl. We can do this, right? I'm imagining, Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, so next word is fear.
Mm. Yeah. It's a phrase that came to mind. I have it. I have fear. It's an understanding that I have come to terms with. And in coming to terms with it, it's been very liberating, and it's also helped me, of course, with my coaching, just to know that fear is just going to be my companion forever.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I have it. It's there. Is it in the driver's seat where it used to be all the time? No. It's more often in the child seat, buckled in, like yakking away, asking, are we there yet? Are we there yet? So it's more like that now, but it's there. I have fear.
I'm going to imagine that in my
I mean,
shut up.
The whole thing, like, be fearless.
I know.
I'm not fearless. Fear is there. So am I. I still move on. I still act. I still do. I still live. But I have fear.
I love it. You're just the boss of it. I love it.
Mostly.
Settle down.
Settle down, right. Exactly. It helps to have been a parent, but yes.
I love it. Okay, next word is confidence.
Confidence comes from competence, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the word that came to mind is competence. I work with young adults whose parents reach out to me and they say, we work with our kid. Well, they're not kids, they're young adults, to transition into the world. They're lacking some confidence. Yeah. And, I know well enough that true confidence doesn't come from like the participation medals they used to give to my kids at like soccer games. That used to drive me crazy. I'm like, why are you giving them a medal for participating?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that either.
Good job. Tell them good job for participating. Don't give them a medal.
Right.
So confidence, true confidence, grounded confidence comes from practice, developing competence, and knowing that, okay, I've got a measure of competence. And from that, just being on a podcast, I didn't know, you and I have barely talked. right? And it's like, you wanted it that way. You said, I want it to be totally impromptu.
Yeah.
My daughter was leaving, and I said, I'm a little nervous. She goes, what are you nervous about? I said, well, I mean, just going to show up and talk. She goes, Mom, you just show up 8 hours a day. You have no idea with people, what anyone's going to say, and you do this. I'm like, you know what? Actually, you're fucking right. It's like the same thing. That gave me confidence.
I love that.
I was able to access a level of competence I've developed through practice.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that your daughter coached you. That's amazing. Wonder where she gets it from. Oh, that's so beautiful, Carolyn. Oh my goodness. Okay. Next word is passion.
Mm. Look, the word that came to my mind is myth. Okay.
Mm.
I know that passion is like a big buzzword,
Mhm.
especially for the younger generation, younger than me. I know from my own experience
Mhm.
and working with just a lot of people that passion is something we develop when we become good at something. There's a great book out there for anyone who wants to really dive deeper into what I'm saying, because I know it won't resonate with
Mhm.
many. It's called So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport,
Yeah.
who also has written Digital Detox, also Deep Work, right? So, he is really up there
Mhm.
in terms of intelligence and research, and he's a professor and he's so smart. So it's not just me saying it, we become passionate when we become really good at something, when we develop career capital. We've done so much work that, our what's in our heart, which you can
Mhm.
call passion,
Mhm.
mixes with our experience, with our results, and creates these great opportunities for us. And suddenly we come across as passionate,
Mhm.
you know? Was I passionate about fashion? No. I just wanted to work and make money and get independence from my like traditional family and
Yeah.
make some I saw it as the way to being independent as a female
Mhm.
coming from a Middle Eastern family.
Mhm.
Okay, fashion was the way. Then I became good at it. Then I had expertise. So people would come to me, you know. I don't know if you're like passionate about makeup, you
Mhm.
know? So it's like passion is great, but it's kind of to be interested in things is great.
Mhm.
You can become interested in a lot of things if you're curious,
Mhm.
and you will become passionate about the thing that you're good at, and people acknowledge you for it, and you're able to serve,
Mhm.
from, and
Yeah.
you're able to impact the world from, then suddenly it's your passion.
I love
Yes,
it.
I'm passionate about coaching. Did I think 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I was going to be a coach? I didn't know what it was. So,
That's amazing. I love that perspective. It's a flip and it's beautiful. And it's like, I feel it. Yeah. The more that you do this work, the more that the passion I think is just continuously fortified and expanded. It's like the flames just keep, even especially almost because of the challenges that come with whatever it is, that you're doing, but you're just like, it just builds, I mean, even if you think of relationship, a lot of times it's that challenge that can make the passion, right? I'm not saying all challenge, it's like everything has to be hard, but it's like, it's just, I'm not saying that, but yeah, let's just leave it there. That was beautiful. Okay, couple more words. So next one is courage.
courage. Yeah. Courage is really the word that came to my mind was gateway. Courage is a gateway.
Yeah.
We have to go through it. So again, I think that it's good to um, it's good to kind of bring alive your curiosity.
Yeah.
Curiosity will lead, hopefully, to the courage necessary.
Mhm.
Courage is a gateway. You can't get to the other side without going through courage. You can't.
No, it's so true. I'm backing that up because that's true in my life for sure. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I wish there was a different way because I would
Yeah.
talk to my clients. I want them to have, unlike you, I want them to have the easiest way possible. Like, I'm like, dude, if I could make it easier, I would. Like,
Yeah.
when they beat the shit out of themselves, I'm like, if that worked, I'm
Yeah.
beating the shit out of you
Yeah.
double. It doesn't
Yeah.
work. So,
No.
and same here. You gotta go through that pathway, that gateway of courage.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a very important supportive tool. Period. Period. Next word, resilience.
Resilience. Yeah. I got these two words. It happens. To me,
Mm,
resilience is again a result.
mm,
So, you read, there's a book out there called Mindset by Carol Dweck, which I'm
mhm.
sure you've read. It's such a seminal book. And she talks about resilience. But resilience isn't a thing that you can just develop. It comes from having a growth mindset.
Mhm.
So resilience happens from falling, from failure, from you can stop that from happening. A lot of parents are doing that with their children. They're
Yeah.
stopping their children literally from becoming resilient by building these, towers, ivory towers around them,
Yeah.
by not letting them have any experience of failure. So you could stop resilience from happening. But if you don't stop it,
Yeah.
life will, I think, generally make you resilient. Generally.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I agree with that, that it's a result, and it's one of my favorite words, and it's certainly something that in my life is it's a constant. It's like I'm wanting to increase my resilience, right? And the
Yeah,
pathway to that is moving towards those fights.
yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah. Final word. Final word is excellence.
Excellence. Excellence is awesome. It really is. It really is. At the same time that I'm always coaching to slow down, don't give into perfectionism. Good enough is good enough. Excellence is so fucking awesome because you know it's about mastery. It's not mastery as having arrived. It's kind of this infinite game. You can see how it can just keep you going for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know, there's no end to it. I
Mhm.
love things like that. I love things that are, again, to quote Simon Sinek, he has a book called The Infinite Game where he goes into this. There are games in life that are finite,
Mhm.
like and any of the games that you take part in, like MMA or sports or whatever,
Mhm.
a football game. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And
Mhm.
there are infinite games.
Yeah.
And those games, um, it takes a different mindset. And excellence is a driver in those games. If you're always like going for excellence,
Mhm.
you're always feeling vital and energized and curious because there's more,
I
right?
love that. Yes. And there's a huge difference between perfectionism and excellence. And I know that there could be a confusion sometimes, but excellence is really I love the way you just framed it. It's a driver. It's truly for me, it's a process. Excellence is a process. It's like, doesn't mean you're winning all the time. In fact, no. But it's what you just said. It's the driver in everything. That was beautiful. Yeah. You're incredible. I want to honor you. I want to appreciate you. I want to say thank you. You're an absolute contributor, just for existing the way that you exist in this life. You're to the clients that you coach, to everyone that you come across, because it's really who you are and how you move through this life. So it's been such a privilege to be here with you, to take more of you in, to share you with the world. And I would love to, and this will all be in the show notes, if you can leave our listeners with the best way to stay connected with you for those who want to work with you, your programs will be in the show notes as well. But yeah, before that, just thank you so much, Carolyn. You're incredible, truly.
Thank you to you, Roxy, for this really beautiful conversation. And I look forward to continuing and exploring together. I am on social media, on and off, but mostly on now. On Instagram, Carolyn Mahboubi Coach, and Facebook, Carolyn Mahboubi Coach, and LinkedIn as well. And the best way to find me is really through my website, and send me a little note, and I always respond. I'm very responsive. Pretty simple. I think that's the best way. I have a course out called the Life Vault course, which I've made a special offer for your clients that will be included. And
lovely.
That's how you find me. Thank you.
Thank you. All of that will be in the show notes again. And Carolyn, thank you so much again. This is definitely a to be continued on and off podcast.
Sounds good. Thanks, Roxy.
All right. Thank you. Bye. Bye, everybody.